Welcome to the CFA Connections Plain Talk series. This is a special 5-part video series on how to become a corporate flight attendant. Starting with a complete overview on how to navigate the CFA Connections platform pages, start here, and how to become a CFA. This is a complimentary and robust step-by-step guide on how to start your career as a corporate flight attendant. We include numerous resources, training and career development programs, scholarship opportunities, mentorship programs, and more. In the other videos in this series, I have one-on-one conversations with corporate flight attendants, and we discuss how they became corporate flight attendants, as well as what they wish they had known when starting their careers. These are all not to miss discussions. Let's get started. When you were starting out and thinking of business aviation, did you know this existed, or how did you find out about this industry? I always find that curious too.
It was very interesting. So my background is hospitality management. So I've worked in hotels, luxury restaurants. And the last one I did was a restaurant in Fort Lauderdale where, amid COVID, things were really bad as we all experienced. And I had this table, and long story short, that table, it was pilots that were dining into it, pilots and friends. And um, experience was bad. It was a really terrible experience, which I'm glad it was, because that gave me the opportunity to go to the table. And at the time, I was the manager of the restaurant, and that allowed me the opportunity to go to the table and chat with them and ask for an opportunity to just kind of reverse the experience for them. And they were out trying to have a good time, so they allowed me the opportunity. So that was good on my part. And I had to go back to the bar, make the drinks myself, and go to the kitchen, speak to the executive chef and tell them this is a very sensitive table, this is what they have ordered, please make sure we put some love into it. And come dessert, one of the gentlemen asked me, do you like to fly? At the time, I thought it was just such a vague question. And I look at him and I said, I don't have time. We're in the middle of COVID. I wasn't even vaccinated. I couldn't go anywhere. And I said, I'm very busy. And of course, Florida being Florida, everything was open. So I
Right.
was working a lot. And I didn't know with that simple question, it would be the the gate to my opportunity. And from there, he said, we chatted, and he said to me, here's my card, call me tomorrow and we'll connect. And I also give him mine also,
Mhm.
because sometimes, we meet people, we don't always follow up with them.
Right.
So he actually followed up with me and said, I hope you remember me, and I'm sorry we were such difficult clients. We were just out with friends we haven't seen in a long time, and we wanted the night to go nice. And it's interesting. It was one of those tables that everything was 6 feet apart, right? And they were one of those people that were complaining that the next table was not wearing a mask when they didn't have a mask themselves. So those people,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, it's gonna be a long night. So so that's how it started for me. They we chatted and connected me with other people, and it's just connections,
Yeah.
and you just never know what you could get out of it. And from me doing my training, took me about a month to get my first contract, which for me I felt like it was a long time. But
Right.
after getting to know a lot of people and connecting with so many different individuals, and I'm very blessed that it took me only a month.
Very true. Yeah.
Very, very blessed because, whew, so that's how it started for me.
Excellent. And once you flew that first time after that month, which probably, like you said, seemed like forever, did it start to domino and just continue on, or did you have some lulls before you got a rhythm going of actually steady flying?
So I did my first flight, I want to say so I did my training in July, about July. And then August, I did my first trip. And in October, I the same people that the same operator that contracted me hired me full time in October.
Wow. So that's pretty amazing. And
Thank you.
that's the nature of the business, because I've been a trainer for many years, and so I've seen all the different stories of students and people becoming corporate flight attendants, and some of them like were hired before they were going to training, so everyone in the class was like, "Oh, you already have a job." Or and some, got trained and the very next week they were flying. And it's in others, it took a month, like you, some
Mhm.
months, some a year or
A
longer.
year,
And
yes.
there's so many variables that come into play. It was all location too,
Yes,
because you met the pilot in Fort Lauderdale,
yes.
trained in Miami, flew in Florida. So it was all local for you, because this is a huge
Very.
market in South Florida for us.
Hmm.
Other areas, not so much. And so
No,
I think that comes into play a lot. And that's amazing. So, I mean, when he talked to you and once you did training, did you expect this type of a career? Is there been
no,
like a surprise, or like we kind of have a looking through the glass, to see what this career is like, but the expectations versus the reality.
no, I didn't. And when he spoke to me, I had no idea what he was talking about. But I've always been fascinated about this industry, and I've tried to become a flight attendant with um commercial. I've applied with different commercial airlines, and it just never happened for me. So I said, okay, well, that's not for me. So I let that sit, and I focus more in hospitality and the hotel business, and I focus more on that. But even after he spoke to me, I was doing my research, and it just keep becoming more fascinating. And I went on Instagram, and I see people, and I said, wow, I like to travel. I like to look good when I travel. I like people. I like serving people. Um, I think I could do this. And it just even today, till today, I'm flying, I'm doing contract, and I'm getting into planes, and it just every time I sit in a jump seat, and I said, wow, this is my life. I'm actually doing this. It's just it always humbles me.
And that never goes away. It's just like looking out the airplane window in flight. It takes you right back. You never just get complacent with this job. You're always so grateful,
Bro,
humble for this amazing career that we have.
amazing.
And I know a lot of people here, 1 month, and they're like, wow, that was really fast. But it was everything just lined up. And I think that's the perfect scenario of this industry, because there's no script of how this is going to work. There's no
Right.
guarantee you've gone to training and and the expectations, but you're proof that, because a lot of people have the misconception that you have to be like have airline experience, be a flight attendant first to go into
Mhm.
in business aviation, and you do not. I was in hotels too, and fine dining and etiquette and restaurants before I joined the airlines, and then made the transition. That's where the success stories is, like, you do not have to be a flight attendant in the airlines
No.
or define success. You're the testimony on that right there.
And
But
it's like you said, 1 month is a long time because I had invested everything I had into this thing. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And after getting my training and all the advertisement, oh, so you're gonna be flying, and I'm just waiting, impatiently waiting for that first flight. And everyone say, once you get the first flight, you're set. And sometimes after you do get the first flight, it's not it for you. It's you're not there yet. So you just have to constantly work towards a long relationship with whomever you have to, whether it's the pilots or other flight attendants. That's why networking is a big thing in this industry. Just the people even when I'm working, I work for a charter company. I have people calling me, hey, can you do this trip? I said, I'm so sorry, I have I have other obligations, but thank you for thinking of me. um So it's just always network and network and network, and your network will support you and help with those trips also, because we cannot cover all of them.
That's
We
it's
can't.
really it's quite inspiring that, and the reality is that, your first job went full time, so it was just boom, boom. It just happened for you. But you get the best of both worlds because you're full time, but you also get to contract on the side. So, and I think that's a really key thing because, you know, some people start out and they're immediately hired, for a private owner or whatever. And so they're not exposed to the full arena of business aviation because there's so many diversities of types of operations and schedules and aircraft. And I mean, there's so many moving parts that this industry is not cookie cutter whatsoever. There's so many differences. Every single flight department's different, but you getting to contract on the side, you get to see and experience other operations and how they work and their inner working
Yeah.
and the dysfunction and the function. And so I think that's a really beneficial thing that you're doing, being able to have best of both worlds right now.
Thank you. It is. It is.
So now that you've been flying, is there one of those like aha moments that we say, like when you're flying and you're like, wow, I didn't expect this to be like this good or experience this. You fly on Challengers. Those were my first aircraft when I started out too, was flying on Challengers. So I always have a special place in my heart for the Challenger aircraft because I flew a lot on them too. But it was my pinch me moment. It was just, I didn't know that this itch wasn't being scratched until I moved into business aviation, because the hospitality and the hotel training and the restaurants and then the airline, I didn't realize something was missing until I made the transition to business aviation, and I just felt totally fulfilled,
Mm-hmm.
like found my place in this
Mm-hmm.
industry and I'm home. This is my forever career, which it's turned into being. So did you have you had moments or several moments or a moment that strikes out to you?
I've actually have a few moments, and um, as far as forever for me, this is something I do see myself doing for a very long time. It offers so much, the broker aspect of it is just mind blowing, and it's a whole thing about itself. And you have the operations and the catering and so many different parts. But flying wise, it's just the people we get to meet. It's just so incredible. I can't say I've had a terrible flight. Awkward, yes. Um, it's it's a few moments there, but a terrible flights where I would say, okay, this is it. I am never going back in the sky again. I haven't had that, and every day I go and I put in 110% because I love it and I love flying. I've been home for the past 2 weeks now, and I scratched my head this morning and I said, what am I doing here? I need to go out. I need to go back flying. This is not okay. So I definitely it's this is it for me. It makes me happy to be moving. I don't like to be stagnant. So every time I check in into a hotel room, and even if I had been there before, I have a different room. It feels new to me, and I learned something about a town. I learned something about catering. I learned something about the pilots that I'm flying with, because that also rotates. So it's always something happening, and it's never a dull moment, really.
Is there anything that you starting up, because it just opened up for you, that now that you have a few years experience, is there anything that you look back at when you first started out and you actually said to yourself, wow, I wish I knew that when I was starting out that I know now?
I like to say, I wish I had done more research, because I feel like that's something, even people that are reaching out to me, and based on the questions that are presenting to me, I can tell this person has done no research, and they see the lavish thing that we promote on Instagram. Okay, I'd like to do this, but it's not it. I wish I had done more research because um, the place you choose to train is important because based on where you go for training, um, that's going to determine how you get your first job. And like, of course, it's different for everyone. Opportunities comes differently, and but it is very important to do your research and know, okay, why do I want to do this? Is it do I It's not because I like to fly, because you fly so much that you get so tired of it. Now you're questioning everything else because, well, I didn't sign up for five legs in one day, right? So it's not really so much about liking to fly because you're going to get the flights. You're going to fly a lot. So it's understanding really what exactly you want from this and how to do them and asking the proper questions, the correct questions, because I feel like I didn't do that at the beginning. I didn't have the mentor. I didn't know the people that I know now. We didn't have the communities that we do now. Um, and things went the way they did, and I'm very grateful. And but now it's just to understand, to do research.
Right.
Definitely do your research.
Do you think that if you had found a mentor initially, your trajectory would have been a little different, or at least you would have been more confident in your decisions?
I would have been more confident because, like I said, even when the pilot introduced all of this to me, I had no idea, and I still went along and did some research, right? And and that's to say, I have people coming to me asking me how to become a flight attendant. Definitely have a mentor or someone that's willing to share vivid and raw experiences with you, because there is no cookie cutter. It's having a mentor is very important, and if one could seek a mentor, definitely do that. And research, do the research, do the work, because we we as professionals are always willing to help. I know I'm always willing to help. I'm always guiding people to the right directions because I feel like I wasn't at the time, as it was give the gate was open, but there were different direction of where to go. So I took a path, and um it worked for me, but it's not the case for any of those colleagues of mine. It's not the case for friends of mine in the industry. So it's different for everyone. And if you could find someone that is willing to teach you, to push you to the right path, I think this could be endless.
You took the same word that I was thinking of too. Is we're not going to sugarcoat it. We're going to be very honest with you because we know, and we've probably done the same thing, because it's a financial investment in the beginning. And 90% of the time you are financing your own training to start your career, because this is a career. Like you said, you have to take it serious.
Yes.
So before spending, $3,000 to $5,000 or more, because there's travel and meals and everything else associated with that if you don't have something in your area. But before you made that type of an investment, wouldn't you do comparison shopping? Before you buy
Yes.
mine, you're going to do some comparison. And that's where a lot of people, I think, just take the first thing that they find on a Google search and make that option. And out. And there's success stories with all training vendors. There are, but there's better chances with others, and it's all the name game and recognition. But some provide different things than others.
Mhm.
Some benefit you more than others, because you and I came from hospitality and service. So we already knew that people that are coming with no service experience, if they go to the name brands, they're not going to get much service training. The service which they need they don't get. So now they have to make another investment.
Another, yes.
That's why I tell them that, anyone that's starting out, know what your skill sets are starting out. It's okay if you have none, but you're going to have to acquire them. Everything can be trained, but you need to get that training. Cabin safety, paramountly important. Hopefully something you never have to use. The service and hospitality, not required, but that's gains us our success in this career,
It
because
does.
service, we are the ambassadors of the cabin, because we can make or break the client's experience in flight. Just like you did at that restaurant, you were changing their experience and the whole dynamic of all the hurdles they were experiencing, and you changed that. That's what drew that pilot to talk to you, and look at you now.
Yep.